Hello everyone, we're going to be working with another technique today, one of the strategies that's real important for your ACT testing. This strategy is called Backsolve. Now Backsolve to me is what I would call plug-in as a math teacher, because this is where you take a number that is one of your answers and you plug it into the problem. But this textbook company, the A-List company in which you have the book, the Red Book of Knowledge, says that Backsolve is where you take and you put the number in, you work it, but plug-in is where you have to make up a number and pull a number just out of the sky to see if the problem would work. So let's get started. Our first problem here, problem 33. Jerry's age is 5 more than 3 times Carol's age. If the sum of their ages is 45, how old is Carol? So we're going to take a look at picking the middle number, and this is where you might have heard the misnomer about always bubble in C if you don't know anything on the problem. Well, the company tells me when we trained with them, it's not necessarily C that you want to bubble in, because typically, they've done a study, typically it's not C, it's going to be B or D. But you start with C if you're doing Backsolve. So take the middle number, in this case 14. Let's make Carol 14 because that's what's the question that we've circled. That's what it's asking. So is Carol if Carol is 14, that means Jerry is 47 because he is 5 more than 3 times her age. And so the sum of those two is 61, but the problem tells us that the sum has to be 45. So the C value that I chose failed because it made the sum too large. So it's too big. That means I can eliminate automatically D and E because they are also too large. So let's start with 12. Well, when I put 12 in for Carol, that means that Jerry is 41 and the sum is 53. So altogether, the sum of their ages is not the 45 as required in the problem. So we have to back it up to 10. And A, 10 is the answer for Carol's age. Number 42. Looks a little bit more difficult, but when you use Backsolve on this one, A plus B is 9 and A squared plus AB equals 36. What is B? When we choose B being 5, we're going to put that into the first part of the problem. That means A is 4. And then now we know that B is 5 and A is 4. Put that into the second equation given, the A squared plus AB equals 36, and it checks out. So here's a case where the middle number did work. Okay, so in your book, there is a Backsolve drill that we're going to go through. Go ahead and pause the video at this time. Try doing the Backsolve drill, and then come back to this video to go through the problems. Okay, here we go. Backsolve drill. If x plus 10 over 12 is equal to 8 over 3, then what does x equal? This is question 6, so it should be a fairly easy problem. Take the middle number, 54, put it into the problem, solve it. Now, 64 over 12 equals 8/3. You may not be familiar with fractions or know that that even gives you the same or not the same. So convert them to a decimal, and it's easy to look to see that that definitely did not work for you. So we're going to cross out, let me go back to that slide. We're going to cross out 66 and 96 because if 54 made the left-hand side 5 and the right-hand side is 2.6 repeating, we know that 54 is too large. So we're going to take 22, put that into the problem. Does that give us the same? And it happens to. So this way you're starting with C and you're only hopefully having to go to B or D, or in this case G or J, to get to the next problem, or to get to the next answer, excuse me. All right, this is question 15. If the average of 2 and P is equal to the average of 1, 6, and P, what is the value of P? So again, instead of making up a number for P, you're going to snag that C value, the 6, and put into the problem. So remember, when you're finding the average of something, you add those things together and divide by how many you have. So 2 plus 6, then divided by 2. Does that equal 1 plus 6 divided by 3? and it does not. So the number 6 did not give you enough. So we're going to take a look at picking 7. So putting 7 in didn't work, but putting 8 in does make a match. Okay, the next one, this is question 26. So about halfway through the test, Alan is reviewing his receipts from 3 different visits to a spa, trying to determine the individual costs of his favorite spa treatments. From his receipts, he knows a manicure and a back rub together cost $18, a back rub and a facial together cost $19, a manicure and a facial together cost $21. What is the cost of a back rub? So if we start with H, $9, and we put that through the problem. So a manicure and a back rub together is 18. If the back rub is 9, that means the manicure was 9. And then the next sentence, a back rub and facial are 19. Well, if the back rub is 9, that makes the facial then 10. So then a manicure, based on those particular sentences and using $9, a manicure plus a facial have to be 21, but based on what I have, a manicure and a facial is 19. So we're going to try 10. You go through that whole setup again. The manicure and the facial is 17, which is not enough. We want it to be 21. So we need to go down in the cost and try a back rub is $8, and that leads us to the manicure of 10, the facial 11. So the manicure and facial is 21. All right, this is question 27. If the quantity x plus 4 squared is equal to 49 and x is less than 0, what is the value of x? So one of the things that I like to point out with mathematics, a lot of times we get into some fancy notation, what some of you might call, but it really isn't if you know what it means. So this x less than 0 that's in the problem just simply means that x has to be a negative number. Well, with that, we can rule out letter E because we know E wouldn't be a possibility. But if you start with letter C to determine if that works, putting that into the problem, negative 11 plus 4 is negative 7, and negative 7 squared is 49. It checks out. So also on this problem, you'll notice they have the RTFQ, read the full question, and that leads you back to the x less than 0. So x has to be negative, because if you did put 3 in there, 3 also makes a true statement, but it doesn't answer the question given the specifics in that question. Okay, this is number 30, about halfway through. The product of 4 consecutive odd integers is 9. What is the least of these integers? So consecutive means one right after the other. Consecutive odd would be like 1, 3, 5, 7. So we're going to start with letter H. What is the least of these integers? So if H is 3, then the product means multiplication. So 4 consecutive odds would be 3, 5, 7, 9. That's 945. That's way too much. We want the product to be 9. So we start with 1. 1, 3, 5, 7 gives us 105. Still too large. So it has to be letter F. And when we look at that particular consecutive odd, it's negative 3, then negative 1, then positive 1, then positive 3, which gives us the positive 9. Okay, 33. Erica had a stack of firewood on Monday. On Tuesday, she used half of the logs. On Wednesday, she used 110 logs, leaving Erica with 1/3 of her original supply. How many logs of firewood did Erica originally have on Monday? So if we go with the 500, Monday she had 500. Tuesday she used half of those, so now she has 250. She used 110 on Wednesday, so now she has 140 left. And then 1/3 of the original. Well, 1/3 of 500 is 166.6 repeating. That doesn't work out because we had 140. So can't be 500. Let's try 570. Use half. We're left with 285. Use 110 the next day. We're left with 175. Now what is 1/3 of our original? 1/3 of 570 is 190. Still does not match. So let's go with 660. So use half. We have 330. Then we use 110 logs between Tuesday to Wednesday. So it leaves us 220. And 1/3 of 660 is 220. So letter E is the one that pans out. Okay, this is number 40. Vladimir sold 18 books on Monday. He sold paperback books for $7.50 each and hardcover books for $15 each. If he made a total of $210, how many paperback books did he sell? This would be a great system of equations problem that you learned about in Algebra 1, but you don't have to do that. You can use Backsolve and put those numbers in. So let's start with 10. So it's asking for how many paperback books. So we'll start with 10, which is our middle number. And that means if we sold 18 books, there were 8 of them that were hardcover. Multiply by their respective prices, and we get that together. That's only 195. So that doesn't work. Let's try, so that's too small. So let's try 11. So 11 paperbacks, this time 7 hardcovers. That's 187.50. That's still too small. So that means we're going the wrong direction. We don't want to up our paperbacks. We need to up the number of hardcovers. So they changed their mind on these. Instead of crossing out H, J, K, now they're going to go back and cross out F, G, and H and start with 9. If there are 9 paperback, that means there were 9 hardcovers. It came to $202.50, still too small. So let's try 8 paperbacks. That meant we sold 10 hardcovers, and that price finally gets you to the 210. All right, 43. The sum of 5 consecutive integers, A, B, C, D, and E, is 55. What is the median of the set A, B, C, D, E? So here's where you need some terminology, some content piece from geometry and the stats and all that you've had in the past. So median, what does median mean? Well, median is the middle number. So we're talking about C. So when we go to pick our value, we're going to start with the middle number, C, the median, I guess, of our answers, and then we're going to put that into looking at that as a set. So if that's 11, that means A is 9, B is 10, D is 12, and E is 13. Do those add up to be 55? And sure enough that they do. It adds up. So be sure that you're answering the question. It's asking for the median, not the least number. So if you had said A, 9, you're not asking for the least of those, but you're looking for the median. Okay, Marion brought some biscuits to a tea party. If everyone at the party takes 5 biscuits, there will be 10 remaining. If 4 people do not take any and everyone else takes 8, there will be none remaining. How many biscuits did Marion bring to the party? So again, let's start with 80, our middle number. And it says if everyone at the party takes 5, there will be 10 remaining. So if we take off the 10, that meant that 70 biscuits were distributed. So it means there's 14 people at the party. And then it says if 4 people do not take any, and everyone else takes 8, so that leaves 10 people there. And so if they each take 8, that means that there's 80 biscuits that have been distributed. So it's actually letter H for this one. Okay, 55. We're getting near the end of the test where they get a little bit more difficult. It took Adam 6 hours to canoe upstream from his campsite to the lake and back again. While paddling upstream, he averaged 2 miles per hour. While paddling back, he averaged 4 miles per hour. How many miles was it from his campsite to the lake? So this is where you need to look at taking the value, plugging it into, actually backsolving it, into using the distance formula, distance equals rate times time, or distance divided by the rate equals the time. So in this case, paddling upstream at 2 miles per hour, it took 5 hours to get there. Then coming back, because it's still 10, if you're picking 10, it's still 10 miles from the campsite to the lake, and then the lake to the campsite. 10 divided by 4 is 2.5 hours that it takes, and that's a total of 7.5 hours. But Adam only had 6 hours in this problem, so that was way too much. So let's go with 8. 8 divided by the 2 miles per hour meant that it took 4 hours to get there. and it took 2 hours to get back based on the average of 4 miles per hour. So that is our 6 hours. So letter B was our correct choice. Okay, that concludes Backsolve for now, and there will be a Backsolve quiz in Schoology for you.